It's 12:45 a.m. The house is finally still, the lights are low, and let's be honest, by all accounts, you should have been asleep an hour ago. You know exactly how tomorrow is going to feel on 5 hours of rest. You know that mental fog that's going to settle in around 2 p.m. when the coffee starts tasting like burnt rubber and that quiet irritability starts simmering just under the surface. You've promised yourself dozens of times that tonight was the night you'd actually get to bed at a decent hour. And yet, here you are, scrolling through a feed of videos you don't even really care about, falling down a Wikipedia rabbit hole about deep-sea creatures, or rewatching a sitcom for the 10th time because it's easier than closing your eyes. Or maybe you're just staring at the ceiling, soaking up the silence. To anyone else, it looks like bad time management. It looks like a lack of discipline or some modern addiction to a blue screen. But if you look closer, something much more personal is happening. You aren't just staying up late. You're staging a quiet, desperate rebellion against your own life.
This isn't just insomnia, and it isn't laziness. It is a psychological phenomenon that has come to be known as revenge bedtime procrastination. And if you find yourself caught in this cycle night after night, there is something you need to hear. You aren't broken, and you aren't failing. In fact, your brain is doing exactly what it thinks it needs to do to save you. To understand why you can't seem to close your eyes before midnight, we have to look at what happens during the 12 hours before the sun goes down. For many of us, the daytime is not our own. From the moment the alarm screams in the morning, your time is partitioned, sold, and distributed to everyone but yourself. You owe your focus to your boss. You owe your patience to your children or your partner. You owe your energy to the commute, the errands, the social expectations, and the endless shoulds that govern a modern adult life. By the time you finally sit down on the couch at 9 p.m., you haven't actually lived for yourself yet. You've been a high-functioning tool for the world to use. This creates a profound psychological deficit, a hunger for agency. When you stay up until 2 a.m. doing absolutely nothing productive, you are performing an act of reclamation. You are stealing time back from a world that took it all. In the silence of the night, when no one is asking anything of you, you finally feel like the protagonist of your own story again. This behavior often traces back to a very specific kind of internal environment, the feeling of being overscheduled. When our nervous system is under constant demand throughout the day, it enters a state of high alertness. You are on, you are performing, you are regulating your emotions to stay professional, polite, and efficient. But the human psyche isn't built to be a machine. It requires a period of low-stakes existence to reset. Think of your mind like a pressurized kitchen timer. All day long, the tension is winding tighter and tighter. If you go straight to sleep the moment your responsibilities end, that tension never has a chance to unwind. Your brain perceives sleep not as a rest, but as a fast-forward button to the next day's demands. By staying awake, you are physically delaying the arrival of tomorrow. You are holding on to the only space where you are truly free. It is a protection response, a way of shielding your identity from being swallowed whole by your obligations. But here's the part nobody tells you. This isn't just about having me time. It's about how your brain handles the transition from doing to being. For some, the resistance to sleep is actually an avoidance of the void. During the day, the noise of the world provides a convenient distraction from our own inner monologue. We are too busy to feel. But the moment the head hits the pillow and the screen goes dark, the silence becomes loud. Every unresolved anxiety, every what if, and every piece of self-criticism waits for that moment to surface. Staying up late, bathed in the glow of a phone or a television, acts as a digital buffer. It's a way of keeping the lights on in the mind so the shadows don't have space to move. You aren't procrastinating sleep. You are procrastinating the confrontation with yourself. As we move through different stages of life, this behavior tends to evolve. When you were younger, perhaps you stayed up late out of a fear of missing out, the idea that the world was happening somewhere else and you weren't part of it. But as you get older, the motivation shifts. It becomes less about what is happening out there and more about what is happening in here. For a person in their 30s or 40s, the midnight hour becomes a sanctuary. It is the only time when the roles we play, the employee, the parent, the spouse, are allowed to fall away. In the middle of the night, you aren't anyone's provider. You aren't anyone's problem solver. You are just a human being in a room. That version of you is precious, and your brain knows it. It will sacrifice physical health. It will sacrifice tomorrow's clarity just to give that version of you a few more minutes of air. This is where the concept of emotional regulation comes into play. We often think of sleep as the ultimate form of recovery, but for the person struggling with revenge bedtime procrastination, the act of not sleeping is the recovery. It is a form of self-soothing. It is the psychological equivalent of a heavy blanket or an anchor in a storm. When the world feels chaotic or out of your control, the choice to stay awake is one of the few choices you have left. It's a way of saying, I am still in charge of my own life. Even if the choice is unhealthy, the feeling of making the choice is what provides the safety. It's a familiar room you retreat to when the rest of the house feels too crowded. It's a way of narrowing the world down to a single point, just you and the quiet, until the mental load finally feels light enough to carry into unconsciousness. The irony, of course, is that the very thing that makes us feel safe at 1 a.m. makes us feel vulnerable at 8 a.m. But when you're in the thick of it, the future version of you feels like a stranger. The person you are right now, in the dark, is the only one who matters. And that person is tired, not just physically, but existence-weary. They are tired of meeting expectations. They are tired of the grind. They just want to exist without being perceived. If this is your nightly reality, it's easy to feel a sense of shame. We live in a culture that fetishizes the 5 a.m. morning routine and treats sleep hygiene like a moral virtue. When we can't adhere to it, we feel like we are failing at being a functional adult. We look at our phones at 2 a.m. and feel a pit of guilt in our stomachs, knowing we are sabotaging our future selves. But what if you looked at that late-night version of yourself with a bit more compassion? What if you saw that person not as a procrastinator, but as a survivor? That version of you is simply trying to find a way to breathe in a world that feels suffocating. They are trying to find a crumb of joy or a spark of curiosity in a schedule that has been stripped of both. Your brain isn't being your enemy. It is trying to be your best friend, even if its methods are a bit messy. It is trying to give you back the soul that the day tried to take away. You aren't a broken machine that needs to be fixed. You are a human being with a nervous system that is seeking equilibrium. The night isn't your enemy, and your struggle to sleep isn't a character flaw. It is a testament to how much you value your freedom. It is a sign that you need space, that you need silence, and that you need to be known by yourself, away from the eyes of the world. Tonight, if you find yourself still awake when the rest of the world is dreaming, try to set the shame aside. Listen to the silence. Acknowledge the part of you that is so hungry for life that it refuses to let the day end. You are doing the best you can with the energy you have. You are human, you are tired, and you are seeking a way back to yourself. And in the quiet of the midnight hour, that is perfectly okay.